Okay, so I'll be very brief. So I have actually been using this protocol for about since April. I got it, I basically created it because, and this is the only bit I'll say, I will do the proper explanation at the end of it, but I had a lady got in touch with me who was experiencing Parkinson's. I've never worked with Parkinson's before. My general first reaction was I don't really want to do this because it's too much of a serious thing, and I've not done it before. So I was honest with her. I said, "Listen, I haven't done this before," but we had a really good conversation, good connection, and she really said, "Look, will you help me?" And I said, "Well, I'll try and see what I can find out about it, and I will do what I can." She wanted to come in person as well. She's an architect, really clever, lovely woman, and she was also not taking medication for her Parkinson's, and she didn't want to take medication because she said her medication was making her drowsy and unable to. She was still sketching, so she was still working, and she wanted to be able to continue working. But she said with the medication that you get for Parkinson's, you can't work. So that was really so. What she wanted from the hypnosis was to stop the tremors. That was her primary goal, enough that she could continue working. So I was nervous that if I'm going to find out what I can find out, and if I can feel like I can do anything, then I'll have a go. So I went on to MMHA, I think first of all, and there was a doctor there called Michael Godblatt. Godblatt. I've written it down. Let me just check. I don't want to misquote the doctor. So let me have a look where it is. Yeah, it's Michael Goldblatt. So he's a doctor. He's worked with quite a few cases of Parkinson's, and he gave me a couple of ideas. One of them was that in order to sort of like still the tremors, if you can, he was using sort of a visualization where if you go into the the pharmacy of the mind and get the neurotransmitter dopamine and start getting the client to release dopamine into the system, it can it can soothe the tremors. So that's what he'd been doing. I thought that was quite good. So I took that one, and there was something else, another suggestion he gave me, but there was really not very much that And I thought I've not. So I had basically a couple of things which were actually really effective. What he told me was really effective with her. But as we were doing the one of the protocols, I was using. I don't know if any of you familiar with Richard Hill's mirroring hands. No. Okay, it's really good. Really love it. Oh, and it's so easy. It's such an easy, versatile protocol to use. So I started using that with her. She'd had a lot of trauma at the time of her Parkinson's. She had trauma actually throughout her whole life. But I was using the hands, the mirroring hands, and all the negativity. And as sort of she was going through trying to, in the trance, looking for all the negative feelings in order for them all to come together so she could release them. I had this image of Mercury and all the separating, all coming together. So I just started doing that at the point and thought, okay, that's a really good, that I can really see that symbol. And she really connected with it. That was the beginning. And then we developed it the second week and into this, and I'll go into more depth after you've experienced it. But that's essentially what it's for. It's really simple. We'll talk about it more after you've experienced it, and I'll go into the details of how the mechanisms of it. All right, but in the meantime, I'm just going to do a really nice, simple trance. If you just lie back, you can all close your eyes actually, and just relax into this moment now, into this time, and we'll get ready to begin. And as you just allow yourself to relax now, just become aware of certain things, sound of my voice, sense of connection between yourself and the others in this space, as though there was a beam of light, a beam of consciousness between all of you, between me and all of you, as you sink further now. That's right, you can just begin to unwind, become more comfortable, more open to the possibility of change. That's right, you can now just unwind and become more comfortable. Now wonder what you'd really like to change now. as your conscious mind drifts. Because you might be aware that your conscious mind has things to do, things to plan, things to remember. And your conscious mind can do all the things it always does, and as it drifts. And you can be aware of those thoughts without feeling any restraint or need to change them. They're just thoughts that drift. Sometimes getting bigger, sometimes getting smaller as they drift away. And while you let your conscious mind drift away, you might become aware of your unconscious mind, that expansive part of you that knows everything about you, those instincts, senses, feelings, responses, your heartbeat, your love, your fear. And you can feel that part of you expanding now with every word I say, with every beat of your heart, as you grow more comfortable and become more deeply relaxed. That's right, go deeper now. Now as you relax, I'd like you to imagine that you're looking out of the window of the room. This could be the room where you are right now, or a window from a room in the most beautiful place you can imagine. But wherever you are, you're looking out the window, looking out into the sky, wondering. Because of course you can always wonder about our time here in this world, what it means, what our purpose is, what your purpose is right here, right now. Without wondering at all, you can simply breathe and be here now. But it's wonderful, is it not? To look outside and notice the clouds moving through the sky and see the stars as they begin to grow dark. And from where you are standing safely in your room, you can see the moon and all the stars because the night is clear. And very soon you can imagine that physical you is connected to the stars and the planet because we are all one. And of course, since you have been alive, you have created a pathway, a trace of yourself, a timeline. And you can imagine that your timeline is a ribbon running from the time you're born, or even before that if you prefer, a pathway, a running track, or just a straight line you get in the history textbooks where you learn the timings and events of kings and queens and other important historical events. And you can begin to imagine yourself standing on the timeline of today, your past behind you, your future ahead of you, and of course it could be arranged in any other way that you prefer. And some people, when they're asked about the timeline, they imagine a timeline stretching out in front of them, like a semicircle. And others imagine a line which runs right the way through them with themselves, that line running through them, and that self is in the present. But all this is all made up, and you can make it up any way you like, because in this life, sometimes in order to tell the truth, you have to tell a story. Because our unconscious mind understands when it imagines and can make shifts easily. So you really can imagine any way you want to imagine. But as you stand here and now and you unwind and follow my voice, looking out the window, feeling yourself drift off towards the night, I want you just to allow your unconscious mind to search through your body and your mind and find a recent experience of emotional or physical discomfort of the kind you'd like to be free from. And this could be a feeling, a sense of something that you've been acutely aware of, something that's been holding you back and that you're willing to be free from, something that's no longer serving any purpose, that's holding you back and you'd like to be free from. Perhaps this feeling is an anxiety that you felt somewhere in your body. Could be in your chest, your solar plexus, your shoulders, a sense of heaviness. Sometimes people feel turbulence or anxiety in their stomachs and recognize it as a panicky feeling. But whatever it is, I'd like you just for a moment experience it now. Could be an ache, a sense of loss, grief, sadness, anything that that you feel has been draining you of your energy. So remember a time now as you relax now and go to that place for a moment. Just accept the feeling. Notice where you feel it in your body. Or perhaps just get a sense of it. Or perhaps it's a colour. Perhaps it's a word, a sound. Perhaps it's moving. Perhaps it's completely still. But there is a spot. And as you become aware of it, I invite you to imagine that feeling as a small globule, a little globule of silver grey, like a globule of mercury. Imagine it now, that feeling as a sense of a small sphere of mercury. And now you're holding it. You're holding a thermometer with a small globule inside that glass. That discomfort, that anxiety, that feeling that you felt is compressed as a silver ball, encapsulating the quality of that feeling in its entirety. Watch that small globule moving up and down the glass. And I don't know if you remember those glass thermometers. They might even still exist. I haven't seen one for a while that we used to use, put under children's tongues. But that's the kind of thermometer, that glass thermometer everyone used to use in the 80s. And imagine just holding that thermometer with your negative feeling inside it, watching it moving up and down, dissociated from your body. And then as you're holding it, you drop the thermometer and the glass breaks. And all that mercury spills. And soon your bit of mercury, that small globule containing that negative feeling, is separated into tiny individual droplets. And each of them seems to move independently, glimmering and reflecting light as they spread apart, a whole life of their own. The droplets roll and trickle all the way down your timeline, finding other droplets of that anxiety, the same quality as them, looking for their source, where they've come from. Because we all feel a longing for our source, do we not? Whatever we believe about our consciousness, it is said that we're all made of the same stuff as stars. And as you become aware, as you float above your timeline, you watch from a safe place outside of your body, each droplet is drawn to other droplets like magnets, recognizing themselves, recognizing the same quality in each other, rolling all the way down your timeline. And your unconscious mind can pattern match every other droplet of pain or sadness or discomfort or fear that was contained within that very first droplet. And very soon you can watch, or perhaps you can imagine any way that feels good to your unconscious mind, all those droplets of stress, the very earliest time of their existence. However early on your timeline you felt them, your unconscious mind finds them. And then, as you would expect to change, an intriguing phenomenon occurs that allows you to make an incredible shift. The small scattered droplets of mercury containing all that fear, all that anxiety, all of that pain, all of that negative feeling begin to slowly gravitate towards each other. For a captivating display, the individual droplets of mercury gradually gather, merging seamlessly back together as you, below the timeline. It's like a beautiful mesmerizing dance. The once separated droplets reunite, forming a cohesive silver mass as if drawn by an invisible force. This mesmerizing process exemplifies the unique properties of mercury, its ability to separate and combine effortlessly, showcasing the captivating nature of this extraordinary metal. And just like the fluidity of this captivating metal, you too can experience change as you release all of those feelings and limitations now. And as that Mercury sphere gets bigger and bigger, rolling down your timeline, or up your timeline, like a snowball children roll when it snows in the winter and it's heavy on the ground, to the present moment, getting bigger and bigger, all of those tiny droplets combining, to the present moment where you find yourself looking out the window with a huge silver Mercury ball at your feet, wondering about time and space, wondering about what you really want to achieve and feel, what you want to be free from. And I mean really wonder. And as you're considering how good it will be to finally let go of all of that heaviness that was contained in that silver ball, you feel yourself release that ball, any tie it has to you. You let go of it and you thank it for everything it's done for you, everything it's taught you, everything it's contained. And as you watch that silver ball at your feet and breathe, it begins to spin and float up strangely light. As you watch that ball of Mercury drifting off away from you into the sky, drifting, getting lighter and faster, spinning off into the night sky, back to the place it came from, back to its own source. And because after all, Mercury is the fastest of all the planets in our Milky Way to rotate around the sun, you too can experience transformational change as you let yourself become completely free. And as you watch that Mercury sphere getting further and further away from you, you can imagine that if you were to have a supersonic eyesight and could see the planets, you would see that all of those feelings that you had contained within that silver droplet have turned back to their source. And as you look at that planet Mercury, that silver ball of grey that has no moon, you are thankful for all the challenging feelings that you once had, and a feel and a calmness, seeing those feelings returned to where they came from, feelings that share a quality with feelings just like them. And with each breath now, you can feel calm, experience gratitude and peace, knowing that there is room now, space for something extraordinary to happen each and every day now. And you can become calmer, more peaceful, and find it easier to feel comfortable, secure, happily orbiting in your own breath and space. And as you experience that feeling of well-being growing inside of you, lighter, healthier, stronger, you drift along your timeline into the future and see the impact that letting go of that discomfort has had. You see yourself in the very near future smiling at ease, healthy, grateful, joyful, filled with peace. You can notice the difference in the way that you're standing, talking, and the way that other people respond to you. And as you imagine that your future self, you understand that these changes have already occurred and you're already on that pathway. Each and every day you will experience a growing sense of well-being and good health and vibrancy. You take a time now for coming back to full waking awareness, just to go over some of the experiences, feelings, awarenesses that you've discovered. Enjoy moments of calmness. And on the count of 5, to reassemble from the planets to full waking consciousness, remembering that anything you want, you can voyage into the spaceship of your mind to achieve. 1. 2, let all those suggestions be fully integrated into every cell, every atom, every fibre. 3, letting normal sensations return to your hands and toes. 4, understanding that you are incredible, each and every one of you. You're going to feel that way forever. 5, opening your eyes, stretching, coming back to the surface, all the way in your own time. There we go. I'll just wait till everyone's back. All right. There's no general. That took less time than I thought it was going to. All right. And does anyone want to give any feedback that when we can take it from there?
I liked it.
Thanks, Jane. Did you all find it easy to find something that you could apply it to? Because I didn't say beforehand what to apply it to. I think for pretty much for anything negative, I did it for anything negative today, but obviously we'd do it differently if it was for confidence. It'd be a slightly different way. But I think for anything negative, essentially you're looking for something. It's the same principle as anything pattern matching, which you do a number of ways. So I'll kind of explain really. It is so easy to do. Now I embedded all of that for the sake of what you lot to do. This is the first time, so I delivered it within a script. But when I created it, that's the first time I've delivered it within a script, and I did it just because I wanted to make sure it was long enough and of an experience enough for you in a group situation. But actually, essentially, the way that I've been doing it is you get the person to explain. They're telling you what the feeling is that's the problem. You get them to associate into that feeling, and then unconsciously, basically unconsciously, that feeling, you imagine that feeling as a thermometer, as a piece of mercury. Most people have seen mercury, you've seen it spill out, and then you've seen it sort of like all gather together. Most people have had that experience. It's quite, when you think about it as an adult, it's quite phenomenal to think whatever is going on with mercury will always find itself. So that's essentially the protocol. You don't need a script for it. That's as simple as that. Imagine all that feeling you've got disassociated, separating out, and then all of those feelings, all those negativities, all coming together, and then you get rid of it. Well, the first couple of times I did it, I was doing it in the sea, so I kind of combined it with a really nice relaxing, going into a lovely beautiful beach with a safe thing, and the sea coming in and out, and the sky, and then get that ball of mercury, all that stuff, all of that crap, all that shit, and just letting the sea take away. But then I was thinking, yeah, but then you're putting mercury is really toxic, isn't it? So you're putting toxics.
You frozen.
I thought it was just me. I was like, oh damn, is my internet broke? But
No.
it seems to be Lara. Okay.
Yeah,
Or-
it seems to be Lara. Yeah.
Who locked her out?
Heaviness in your hand.
There she is.
What's that?
You were frozen for a little bit. Uh-oh.
It's gone. She'll be
Now
back.
you're gone.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mercury,
Come on in, Lara.
Thank you. I've been locked out. Was it you, Patty, talking?
yeah, that was
What were
me.
you saying?
I was just saying that you were frozen out, but it was really interesting that notion of the Mercury, because I was going to ask you in the beginning, and I thought, no, I'll just wait, whether
Yeah.
you were going to reference the Mercury, that substance, that
Yeah,
metal,
yeah.
I guess, or the planet, and you
Yeah.
linked the two, and I thought, wow,
But you know
all
what?
right.
That came afterwards, though. So it was totally about the mercury and the thermometer. That was it. But I've embedded it for the purposes of today. But I want you all to know that when I've been delivering it, it works just without all of the going to the timeline stuff. That's all added stuff. The actual pure stuff, and I've worked for cigarettes, craving. Imagine that craving as a silver ball. That craving is out of yourself. Again, it's a disassociation out of yourself. So the two things I pretty much use always in my hypnosis, I always use Freddie's arrow because it couldn't be more simple. It works for everything. The stuff that you don't want, you put in a space and you shoot it. And the stuff, and the other thing that I use is most of the time is Carl Smith's kinetic shift, because some people think very, in colours, and so again, or even his emotional detox, where you put, getting out all of that stuff. So it's the same principle, and those are the stuff, because you don't need scripts for that. This is a simple concept, and for me, the difference, because when I think about all the protocols that I've done, and I've done quite a lot of them. Some of them are, I love all of them, but they're much more script. But they're not scripts, but because I've made them into a story, they're not so easy for other people to use. Or you'd have to be quite theatrical in delivering them, or you might feel that you do. Whereas this one, it's just easy to do in whatever style that you want, and it works for pretty much anything that for so far. I'm trying to think of what. Anyway, yeah. So I've used it for. I've used it for confidence. That's different. I've used it for anxiety. I've used it for smoking, and obviously for this woman, for Parkinson's, for for getting her tremors to completely still. And that's what happened for a whole hour. She wasn't even on medication, but doing this protocol has enabled her to be completely still, and she's been using this herself. So she's not a hypnotist. So she's just been able to use that idea of the silver ball being her tremor, and then anything related to that tremor and separating it, and then it's just bizarre actually. And then they're just getting rid of it. She's been using it on the sea, and then getting rid of the silver ball of the sea. But any trauma that's related to her Parkinson's, that's what she's been using it for. So yeah, I'm going to explain what I was doing with the timeline, because that's something I just added in the last week. Again, were any of you kind of like familiar with? Do any of you use timeline in your stuff?
Yeah, I use timelines quite a lot.
Yeah. So who's that? Oh, you, Karen. Yeah. So, and again, I didn't explain beforehand, because if we were doing this with a client, you would say beforehand. So how do you imagine your timeline? Do you see it as a front? Are you in time? So when you're doing timeline, generally there's believed a couple of people, there's a couple of ways that most people, if you say how do you imagine your time, some people will imagine their time in front of them all stretched out, so they can see their past, they can see their future, and they can see their present, and they're almost like standing right in front of the line. And I think that's called is that through time? Is it through time? Yes, that's it. So that's called through time. And then there's the in time, where you're actually in the middle of so you've got time, your time is running through your line. I mean, this is all, you can imagine it any way you like, because it's not like, not everyone has, I never had a timeline until someone said, what's your timeline? Oh, okay, you start making it up. So that's all right, because you can make it up any way you want. But for this, what it's quite useful for is, because you're telling someone that all those feelings that they've got, they want to get rid of, that they've got their root in the past, which they probably have. So it's a really effective way of potentially getting rid of things that they found traumatic, by saying along this timeline. So for the purpose of today, I'm trying to put it into, add a timeline therapy, but up until putting it into this format, I was just saying pattern match, go back to any feeling that relates to that first feeling, that feeling. You don't want to associate people into the pain of the trauma. So that's why, say, you're floating above the timeline, watching the silver Mercury balls splitting up and then going back together, because obviously if there is trauma, you don't want to associate them into it. You just so you have them drift. You can have them drifting along the timeline, looking at all the past things that feel familiar to that. So say it's anxiety, so other events or situations that feel similar to that recent anxiety, or that recent thing, that recent event. That's going to be the feelings that they're kind of like mopping up with a mercury sponge, and then lobbing into the planet, into the Mercury, which then sucks it back into the Milky Way. Yeah, all right, and that's essentially it. But you don't need the Milky Way planet, you don't need timeline. It's just as simple as a ball of mercury with all that pain, all that sadness, all that loss, all that grief, splitting up and then combining with all of it from the earliest possible route, and then doing something, getting rid of it in some way that's going to be right for that client or right for you to deliver it, so you're not uncomfortable, so you're not thinking, oh, I don't like that. That's essentially it. Yeah, so any questions or God, there's got to be some questions. It was 16 years of teaching down the tube. Not a single question.
I
Well,
haven't got a
there's some
question,
disruption
but
then.
I haven't got a question, but I used it for something physical. So it'd be really quite interesting what goes on.
Who's speaking?
Jane.
Oh, sorry, I can see you. I'm not very good at that. All right, yeah. So you're okay. So that you use it for physical. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
So it'll be interesting because it's
Yeah,
really been pissing me off. Excuse the big.
yeah, that's good. Does anyone want to tell me anything they have you? Does anyone mind just sharing what they have used it for? Different things that they've used it for.
I can share if you want. Yeah.
Yeah,
I used it because there's still a lot of the trauma from my past marriage, which is it ended about 30 years ago, but he's
yeah.
still being an asshole. Excuse me, but and
So it's still in your life, basically.
it's still in my life
By the way.
because his son, our son, is exactly the same as him, and he treats me in exactly the same way. So it's kind of an ongoing trauma. But
Yeah,
I just had kind of all the little balls of mercury following me along, calling them from the past to where I am. And then I actually went up into space and, like the arrow, shot them through it.
nice. You combine the arrow. Great.
I combined the arrow. I don't know. Didn't intend to. It just
Yeah,
did.
yeah, that's great, isn't it? We can do that. I mean, that's what I mean. I think that's why I really love the arrow anyway, because it is so versatile and you
Yeah.
can pretty much do anything with it.
So basically, I had all these little balls coming towards me, so I could, collect them all up again, and then I
Yeah,
just shot them away.
and that's why I like the Mercury Protocol because it can go into the past like that, like a rolling snowball of crap. And so
Yeah.
and that's why I suppose why I like the mirroring hands so much because it's so simple. I mean, I think you can really obviously take a lot longer than I did. I feel like I've sped through that. The experience, what someone said. Oh, right. Hang on, did you just write that, Suzanne, or was that about the experience first? Or was that just
Yeah,
come?
no, I was writing it as Karen was talking because I was, yeah, it was when you explained it, I thought, oh, I'm glad you didn't explain it first. That was all. It was just,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, a
So,
comment. There's no right or wrong with it, but you wanted feedback, so
yeah, yeah, I do. Because normally I do it the other way around. But I think that the problem with doing the explanation first is that then it activates our critical things, doesn't it? Our critical
Yeah.
capacity, whatever. And we're starting, but analysing. All right, yeah, that's how that's working. And whereas actually, if you don't know, but it depends. We're all different. Oh, good. It didn't feel rushed. That is good because I felt like I was a bit rushed. I felt like, well, I'm not nervous, or am I nervous? Because I feel like I'm going quite quickly. Maybe I'm nervous and I don't know it. Yeah. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was important. Yes, Gaynor,
He's
you
got her
can.
hand up.
Sorry.
Annamee's got her hand up.
Thank you, Anna-Mee. Hello.
Oh, and well, you were talking about your client with Parkinson. So, did you work on the tremors specifically or did you ask the unconscious mind to put any trauma that's related to it also in that?
Yeah, that was pretty much what she wanted me to help her with, was just to make her tremors still, so she had more time for sketching her art, for architecture. So yeah, so that was pretty much. So it was, yeah. So I asked the unconscious mind for anything related to that trauma and that tremor, and to be contained within that silver ball, and that was it. And it's been great. It has been really great. There was a precaution that I should probably relay in relation to Parkinson's. It's not something I imagine I'm going to go into massively, but Parkinson's just happened that I had a really, really good connection with her, and I wanted to help, and I thought, don't be, but also, yeah, but the doctor, who is a doctor, did say you have to be careful when you're making suggestions for stillness because that can cause freezing for people with Parkinson's. So so I think I can't remember what suggestions, but that was something else, just to make sure that it was a fluid stillness rather than a locked suggestion. But yeah, so that was it. I mean, I think anyone with Parkinson's, any help you can give someone has got to be a good thing. But she's incredible because she doesn't want to experience it and not have any medication. It's just like, she's so brave, and that's what she's doing. She's just
Wow.
But she's very, very clever, so she doesn't want to lose that part of herself that she identifies with, which is, for her, it's her ability to think and speak. And
Would you elaborate a little bit on how to use that for self-hypnosis?
for her,
Yeah, how she uses it.
that's what she was doing. Also, all she was doing, she was imagining when she was getting the tremor, she was imagining it as a silver ball outside of herself. And that's what she was doing, imagining, and again, just breaking up all those tiny little tremors, or running down. I don't know if we didn't do timeline, but that's what she was been doing, just imagining those silver balls all separating, and all her negative experience, simple. It's just a simple thing to visualize, isn't it? I think because most of us have seen Mercury spilling out, and it is quite fascinating, isn't it? It's quite hypnotic anyway to watch that stuff and then watching it all combine. So I think that's what makes it such a great protocol. And I wanted to say at the beginning how excited I am about this protocol, because I really am. Because I've got, the same way as I use the arrow and EDT. I think it's called that, EMT or EDT. I feel this is the first time in the protocol that I will use it in the first session really confidently. I think, well, I know it's good, and I've used it for must be 3 months, and it's been, I've just had really, really good results. Use it for confidence. So if you're using it for confidence, you can obviously you get them to go, say, to associate into. I love that. Yeah, it's like the metal Terminator guy. Terminator, love that. That's great. Actually, that's a pretty good image. Actually, yeah. But you can get for the confidence, so you can associate into a really lovely feeling, a time when you're feeling like you were achieving something, or you just felt good, or you felt happy, or you felt filled with love, and you associate that feeling. And I don't know if it would work, but I have been still using it as a silver ball, that lovers, because obviously some people associate love or happiness or with more bright colours, but for the purpose of Mercury, it just makes sense that it's silver grey, isn't it? But you feel all that happiness, all that joy, all that confidence. And again, it gets all those times you felt confident, you just see them expanding, getting bigger, combining, getting bigger, feeling it through your body, and then you would want to keep it, just breathe it in rather than sending it out to the world. You just inhale it, and it just gets bigger inside of you. So that's how you use it for positive things. Same as a light hand, isn't it? You keep at the end. I think, and I saw. I used to watch Mike Mandel's version of Mirroring Hands on one of his demos, and at the end of it, he said to this woman, I think she'd grieved, she lost her partner, and for years, she was another therapist, and at the end of it, he says to her, what do you want to do with all those wonderful healing feelings of love? And she puts it into her heart and breathes in. He doesn't say where to put those good feelings. So that's the other thing, is once you've magnified and you had that feeling got bigger, it's then up to the client, isn't it, to do whatever they want to do with that positive feeling. The same as get rid of it in the way that they want. They might want to throw it out or disintegrate it, shoot it, stamp on it. Don't know. So yes, anything else? Just reading through the notes.
I thought the pacing was great. I didn't think it was rushed.
Thank you.
I thought it was just right, because sometimes if things go too slow, you can wander off, can't you? But I thought it. Well, I can anyway.
I was like laughing because it was nice to hear a Brummy accent.
Oh yes.
Yeah, no, you can wander off. Yeah, I can. I don't like things too slow, and I don't like things too fast. So, but everyone's different, aren't they? About what the pace is also subjective. But yeah. But thank you for that. That's good to know.
Really good.
Good to know. All right. So where's George? George, how was that for you? Because you wanted the explanation first. Did that matter?
It was great, thank you. Actually, I said demo first, please, but I'm meant having the experience first.
Okay.
So
that's
not
good.
the explanation.
So actually it worked out well then. That's good.
Yeah, it works fine. Thank you for the great experience.
Oh, you're welcome. That's good. So actually, do you know what? That's really interesting. All of you have then pretty much said that you wanted the experience first. So I'll remember that for next time, because in the past I've just always done the explanation first, and that's really useful. Right. Well, that is the Mercury Protocol. I mean, I really hope you use it, and if you do, so you can let me know how it is for you, and then if you know use it, then that'd be great. I'd love to know. Uh, is there anything else that I'm missing? I'm just reading through this. Didn't feel rushed to read it. Okay. All right. I've got some. Yes,
Laura,
Pat.
I was going to say it didn't feel rushed because I think your language was colorful enough and rich with images, so that your pacing was really good because it allowed our creative parts of our mind to engage and not feel rushed. And so, you know, there was a lot of content. You
Yeah.
packed a lot of imagery into it. And so it just really felt like the pace was spot on. It felt like there was enough engagement, enough entertainment
Yeah.
to keep us active, or to
Right.
keep
Okay.
just mind active enough, but not too rushed.
Good. That's really good to know as well. You're right,
Yeah.
because you do need time to build up. I mean, I know it is balance because I'm a slow processor. So, and I like when someone gives me an image, I like the time to sort of like to actually create it in my mind. And if I don't have the time, then that's no good either. If it's too fast, that's why if it's too fast, I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because
And I also think presenting it the way you did without the explanation first allowed us to experience it. I find when I have been told ahead of time the dynamics of the protocol, there's a part of my conscious mind that doesn't want to leave because I want to understand it and I want to, you
you're a
know,
therapist, because we're all therapists, aren't we?
yeah,
We
yeah.
want to be a
And so it was really nice to just experience it
That's great.
without figuring it all out and you know, wanting
That's
to
great.
assess
That's
it.
really good. Thank you. This is really, really, really great for me as well in that sense. I'm glad I gave you the choice, because I think if I would have just done it how I do normally, which is explain it all, and so that's really, really good.
Laura,
Yes.
I'm not a very good visualizer.
Where are you? Who's speaking?
Jan.
Funny enough, I was just gonna say, I wonder how Paulina would have found this, because she and I was glad she wasn't there.
But no, I'm Paulina's side really.
Yeah.
However, because I already I can imagine what Mercury does, and also I could imagine the thermometer, although I can't visualize it. I've got a sense of what was going on, and because the timeline is an NLP thing that I've done, so I already was. I was able to engage that process.
That's great.
It all made sense to me.
That's amazing.
So and looking out the window, because my window's there, it was just like I was just in this room, so that helped. But yeah, it would be interesting if Pauline did experience it and her take on it.
Yeah, I will. I mean, you're right, because these are actual, because she's always said that when it's actual things that she's got a life living experience, it's much easier, because then you're not visualizing it, you're recreating it, aren't you? Which is completely different, which you can do. And I think, but I suppose that's why to me it's quite such a strong protocol, because it's something that we've all experienced, Mercury breaking up and coming together. It's easy to relate to, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know but I was aware, because even when I use words like sense, you get a sense of it. That is because of my newer understanding of aphantasia. But I know that as a hypnotherapist, when someone with aphantasia calls, I normally try and refer them to someone else, because I just don't like to work too hard, and I just think, oh, but it's no fun. so but I probably got better. But I do try and do what I can, because I'm actually not a very good visualizer myself. I'm not. I don't think I am. I can do enough, but I definitely have a good sense of, like, what's it when you feel kinesthetic. I can remember every emotion I felt, and but I can just enough do visuals. With my eyes open, I've discovered from our fantasia, I discovered that I can't really visualize with my eyes shut, but I can with my eyes open. It's bizarre. So, yeah, really, really
Yeah, yeah.
good. But thank you, and that's even good news. So what I'll do is I'm going to start touting this for the protocol for people with aphantasia, and I might plug it on in Paulina's group. But
Good idea.
I'll ask her what she thinks. I'll see if I can get her to. She was going to come today, but she's got COVID.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'll see anyway. Am I allowed to say that? I've just realised, are you allowed to tell people about other people's health things, or is that some kind of data breach? Or is that a school thing? I don't know. Anyway, all
Did
right.
put on Facebook today, Lara, and she said she couldn't come because of it. So I think you're safe.
Oh, that's all right. Okay. All right. I'll just say Karen just told everyone that you've got COVID.
I told everybody you've got it. I'll take the blame.
All right. Okay. So, okay. If anyone, any other questions? So I can give you the script. So I wrote a script for today. Happy to give you that script for today, but honestly, you don't need it. You do it any way that you like. Essentially, it is ball of silver, like the Mercury. Get them, as Jan said, if you get them to imagine it beforehand. Actually, I don't even think I did that because everyone knows what a thermometer with Mercury looks like. Well, anyone of my age, I don't know if anyone that is a lot younger. I don't. We've got
that could be difficult if you work with a 20-year-old who's raised in the digital. So we'll have to think of something else to do then.
Yeah, but I think obviously, like most therapists, we're a higher age range, aren't we? But but obviously, people that are younger than like youngsters, you have to say, you used to get these thermometers, and I don't think I can even imagine it. Can you imagine that? A ball of mercury using a thermometer does seem lethal, actually, doesn't it? It's a poisonous, toxic ball.
Or maybe even that image of Terminator 2, where you see that guy. I mean, most young people will have seen that movie. But that's an image that came right to me.
Brilliant.
And you see that when he gets hit by something, that you see splashes all over the place, and you see his droplets just crawling back and forming one one fluid mass again. So that was the image that immediately came into my mind.
That's brilliant. To do that with a youngster, like a young boy, would love that, wouldn't they? That's superb. That's your new protocol. What did you call it? I'm just looking it up. Terminator. The
Terminator 2. It's Terminator
2 protocol.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see pictures I get a sense of. Yeah. Okay, Natalie, do you have aphantasia?
Yep.
Where are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Why can't I see you? You're on the second page.
I don't know.
Make my screen bigger.
Hello. Yeah, I actually belong. I did some of the protocols and the stuff with I can't remember her name now. My brain's
Paulina.
Yes, yeah. I did some of her challenges with Freddie and all that lot, and that was really bizarre. And that was when I realised that I didn't actually see pictures at all. If I close my eyes, I can't. I recall and I have a sense of, and that makes enough for me to know. So I have to know or sense it. But I do it automatically because I think that's how I've been.
You've adapted the whole time.
Yeah, so when you worry about people not seeing, they probably soon realise that they don't see pictures and they haven't done all their lives. So it's a bit like being dyslexic, because I'm also dyslexic. But I never realised that until I was in my 40s when my daughter was diagnosed. And she phoned me up and said, Mum, do you do this, this, this and this? And I went, yes. And then she went, well, you're likely to be dyslexic. And I'd already found coping mechanisms.
Yeah, that's the same as me.
Yeah. So I think if you don't see, it doesn't mean, okay, you might not see a picture, but it doesn't mean you don't know.
Yeah. So it wasn't a block for you anyway.
No, not at all.
That's really good. Okay.
I mean, it's like if you see a picture, I can't, but I can sense what it looks like. And I'm very kinesthetic as well. I have a lot of feelings. So although I don't see, I feel a lot.
And that's enough, isn't it? That's pretty overwhelming to feel everything anyway.
Yes.
It's enough to be getting on with. But Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing is, because obviously now our language has been influenced by learning about fantasy. I do get a sense of this, get a sense of that. I think
Yeah,
that's come from being taught from by Freddie, and
yeah.
and I do that now. But still, sometimes
And I think
it's
if you
not.
say whatever shows up for you as
Yeah,
well,
yeah, that's
because
a good
it's
one.
all
Yeah,
about the person, isn't it? So
yeah,
whatever you do is fine because it all belongs to you. So that sort of gives him the scope to go and sort it themselves.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Because otherwise, you're trying to tell them how to think and how to feel, and it's just annoying anyway, isn't
yeah,
it?
yes, yeah.
All right. So listen, I've got. Are you all right, Petra? I don't know if we've actually spoken tonight. Are you okay?
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. I'm always completely in a film. I can see and hear and sense, and so that's
Nice.
what I love most about hypnosis.
Yeah. Just be immersed in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. I've got a few more emails I didn't have. Actually, I think most of your emails I've got. But is it okay? I think George, if I keep your email, are you happy to get the occasion? I'm not very good at doing emails, but I do try and do like a monthly one. Are you happy for me to keep your email? Yeah. Okay. If anyone isn't, then you just privately say, please, don't want to hear from you. Don't want your monthly email. All right. That's it. So yeah, well, let me know how you get on if you've had any shift as a result of today, or if you use it or anything that might be useful. And I will do a recording as well with this and let you all have it. And if you want a script to remind you of the mechanics of it, then you can have that as well. But honestly, you don't need it.
It would be nice for a reminder for some of us who forget stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's
Yes.
quite useful at the beginning, isn't it? Just to
I'd
Yeah.
love a script, thank you.
yeah, just because obviously it's yeah. I mean, it was my idea, so it's easy to remember. Well, I say that, but I forget plenty of stuff that I thought of. So, but I just don't want you to think that because if I give you a script, I did the script entirely to make today, embed it and make it, seem bigger than, oh yeah, have myself a ball, it's all split up, and then it would have been done in 10 minutes. So I should have more of an experience in that. Okay, also just like, yes, yeah, okay, Karen, yeah, I'll do that. All right, everyone, listen, thank you very much. It's so lovely to hang out and do hypnosis on Saturday night. And
Thank
have
you,
a
Laura.
lovely
Thank
weekend.
you.
Thank you very much,
You're
Laura.
welcome.
So
Yeah.
much.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you very much, Laura.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.